Hello, dear students. This is your professor, Dr. Pino, and today we are going to have chapter 3 and later chapter 10 in week 3. Well, let's begin by this video that we will speak about matter. In general, we can say that matter is anything that occupies space and has a mass. The matter can be in three main states: solid, liquid, and gas. What happened with the three states? Well, in the solid state, the particles are close together, for example, in water. But in liquid water, well, the molecules can move freely. So there is a space between molecules and they can move freely. In the vapor, in the gas state, well, the water gas, the molecules are apart one from another in such a way that they don't interact almost between them or among them. Then here are the three different states. We can say that, for example, a solid is rigid, has a fixed volume and shape. And here you have some examples. In the liquid state, well, it has a definite volume, but the shape depends on the container. And here we have some examples. As you can see here, according with the shape of the container will be the shape of the liquid. In the gas state, the gas has not fixed volume nor shape. It takes the shape and volume of its container. Examples: air, helium, and oxygen. The physical properties are those ones that you can observe directly, and they are unique for a substance. Example: the odor, the color, the volume, the state, the density, the melting point, and the boiling point. In the case of the chemical properties, well, a substance can change into new substances when there is a reaction, a chemical reaction happening. Then some examples of chemical changes are flammability, rusting of steel, and the digestion of food. Pay close attention to these. In a chemical property, the substance that you have at the beginning is different from the one that you have at the end. Well, look at this. Classify each of the following as physical or chemical property. Ethyl alcohol boiling at 78 Celsius degree. It is physical because when you measure the changing of a state, ethyl alcohol only changes the state but never changes into a new substance. Hardness of diamond also is physical because you can measure the hardness of the diamond, and maybe it can be broken, but continues being diamond. What changes is the form, the shape. Well, sugar fermenting to form ethyl alcohol. It is chemical because you begin from sugar and at the end you get what? Ethyl alcohol. And they are different substances. Then this change is chemical. And this is a chemical property. Physical change in one or more physical properties of a substance and not in its chemical composition. Example, boiling or freezing water. Well, as I told you before, we have three states of matter: the solid, the liquid, and the gas. What is a chemical change? A given substance becomes into a new substance or substances with different properties and different composition. For example, in a Bunsen burner, where methane reacts with oxygen to form carbon dioxide and water, well, this is a chemical change because at the beginning you have methane, but at the end what you have? Carbon dioxide and water, and of course, energy. The electrolysis of water is when the electricity makes the water to be broken into hydrogen and oxygen. Then the electrolysis of water is an example of chemical change. Which of the following are examples of chemical change? Well, burning of good, because at the beginning you have good, but at the end you have what? Ashes. In the other cases, there is not change in the matter. We continue with, in this case, dissolving sugar and water. At the end you have sugar and water, but in form of a solution. Classify each of the following as a physical or chemical change. Sugar fermenting to form ethyl alcohol is chemical because you begin by sugar and at the end you have what? Ethyl alcohol. Iron metal melting is physical because you go from the solid state to the liquid state. Iron combining with oxygen to form rust. Oh, it is chemical because at the beginning you have iron, the metal, and at the end you have what? Iron oxide, that is rust. Well, element. What is exactly an element? It's a substance that cannot be broken down into other substances by chemical methods. For example, iron, aluminum, oxygen, and hydrogen. They are in the simplest state of the matter in form of elements. A compound is made of two elements at least. For example, water contains hydrogen and oxygen, carbon dioxide, carbon and oxygen, and so on. But what is important here is that there is a fixed quantity in the combination. Always two atoms of hydrogen combines with oxygen, with one atom of oxygen to make a water molecule. This is very, very important. Well, how many of the following are compound? Water is a compound. Dinitrogen tetroxide is a compound. Sodium hydroxide is a compound, and so on, because all of them are made of two or more atoms, types of atoms. Well, then mixtures. Mixtures can be homogeneous or heterogeneous. But in a mixture, you have two or more substances um, mixed because you can separate them by different methods. Then mixtures are made of two or more pure substances. Homogeneous, a substance that is the same throughout. You cannot distinguish any one of the parts. They are called a solution. A heterogeneous mixture consists of visibly distinguishable parts. For example, in one part you can have properties in those different from other regions. For example, a heterogeneous mixture can be oil and vinegar dressing. It isn't heterogeneous because oil and vinegar never mixed. They are separated. Sand stirred into water. Sand goes to the bottom and water remains up. So they are heterogeneous mixtures. Well, here you have an example. Which of the following is a homogeneous mixture? Gasoline, because it's made of different types of hydrocarbons, and they are, you cannot distinguish one from the other except if you use a method to separate them. Then here you have different methods of separation, the boiling point, the state of filtration, distillation, filtration, chromatography, and evaporation are different techniques to separate substances according with physical properties. For distillation, look at here, is a method to separate salt from water. Okay, and for example, you can have filtration to separate sand from water, for example. In general, you can see that matter is made of homogeneous mixtures and heterogeneous mixtures, and also pure substances that can be elements or